I found the record of that morning, December 17th, 1944. It happened at a checkpoint outside Iwella, Belgium. The frozen morning air showed the military policeman's breath as the jeep stopped. Sergeant William Creel saw 3 soldiers in American uniforms. They looked authentic enough, carrying regulation weapons. Their English sounded almost right. But Creel had already heard impossible warnings. German soldiers might operate behind American lines, dressed as U.S. troops, speaking American words. He demanded the password. They hesitated. He asked again. Their English faltered. Creel noticed the Sten guns, British weapons no American patrol carried. Within minutes, these 3 were in custody. Under their olive drab, they wore German field gray. Untisha Manfred Perus, Oberfenrig Gunter Billing, and Gefita Wilhelm Schmidt were now infamous prisoners of the Battle of the Bulge. Their capture would ignite widespread paranoia. Every checkpoint turned into a quiz show, testing American identity. Detection was written in baseball statistics and Hollywood gossip, not codes and ciphers. You must understand how this all began. The records show the exposure started on October 22, 1944. Hitler was at his headquarters in Rastenburg, East Prussia. He summoned SS Obersturmbannführer Otto Scorzeni. The Führer told Scorzeni this mission would reshape the final months of the war. Scorzeni was already feared. He led the 1943 glider assault that rescued Benito Mussolini at Gran Sasso. In October 1944, he orchestrated the kidnapping of Miklo Horthy Jr. Now Hitler demanded deception on a scale never attempted. The goal was a massive counteroffensive through the Ardennes forest toward the crucial port of Antwerp. It was meant to split the American and British armies, recreating the victory of May 1940. Success meant speed. They had to capture at least one bridge over the Meuse River. Scorzeni would form Panzer Brigade 150 to seize those bridges. Hitler gave the order that made the hardened commando pause. Scorzeni's men must wear American and British uniforms. Hitler knew small units in enemy clothing would spread panic, upset communications, and misdirect troops. Scorzeni understood the implication immediately, the Hague Convention of 1907. Captured soldiers in enemy uniforms forfeited their POW rights and could be executed as spies. He discussed this extensively with General Auward Jodl and Field Marshal Gerd von Lundstedt. Hitler assured him the tactic was legitimate only if uniforms were removed before actual combat. Scorzeni submitted his plans to Jodl within days. He requested 3,300 men fluent in English and American dialect. On October 25th, the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht issued an order signed by Field Marshal Wilhelm Kittel requesting English-speaking volunteers for secret commando operations. Scorzeni knew this broadcast would reach Allied intelligence. He sought permission to cancel the entire operation, but Hitler refused. The Allies intercepted the order on November 30th, but dismissed it as impossible deception. Volunteers arrived from all branches. Fritz Priest, a 21-year-old Luftwaffe private and translator, thought he would interrogate prisoners far from combat. Instead, he was isolated behind barbed wire at Grafenwehr in eastern Bavaria. Security was extreme. One man was shot for sending too many details home. They discovered their mission only upon arrival. What Scorzeni worked with was terrifyingly inadequate. Of the 2,500 men assembled, only 10 spoke perfect American English. Another 30 to 40 spoke English well, but lacked slang. between 120 and 150 spoke moderately well. The remainder had only school-level English, barely able to say yes or no. Scorzeni later wrote that the result was terrifying. Men with minimal English were told to exclaim, "Sorry," open their trousers, and hurry off, feigning diarrhea if approached. Equipment was desperately short. They asked for 15 Sherman tanks. Only 2 arrived, one immediately breaking down. Instead of U.S. armor, Scorzeni received 5 Panther tanks, 6 armored cars, 6 armored personnel carriers, and 5 Sturmgeschütz assault guns, all German. The Panthers were disguised with sheet metal, olive drab paint, and white star insignia. Scorzeni admitted they would only fool very young American troops, seeing them far away at night. Uniforms were worse. British, Polish, Russian, summer issue, some stained or marked P. Scorzeni acquired enough authentic American gear only for the commando teams. The best English speakers formed Einheil, led by SS Captain Ernstello. They trained intensely, studying American Army organization, rank, customs, and drill procedures. Some went to POW camps at Kustrin and Limburg to practice English. They watched American movies to perfect accents, memorizing brand names, sports teams, songs, and Hollywood stars. They practiced walking, smoking, and chewing gum like Americans. Missions fell into 3 categories. Demolition squads, 5 to 6 men, would destroy fuel and ammo dumps. Reconnaissance patrols, 3 to 4 men, scouted the Meuse River, passing false orders, reversing signs, and cordoning off roads with warnings of non-existent mines. Lead commando units would cut wires and issue false orders alongside attacking Germans. The risk was constant, certain execution if captured in uniform. They also feared being shot by their own side. Identification signals were issued, a small yellow triangle on vehicles, specific tank gun positions, and colored scarves worn beneath uniforms. On December 14th, Panzer Brigade 150 assembled near Bad Meinster-Eifel. On the afternoon of December 16th, they moved out behind 3 attacking Panzer divisions. The plan hinged on rapid breakthrough. Scorzeni's forces would move around the spearhead once they reached the high fence, racing to capture the Meuse bridges. The operation depended entirely on the rapid advance of the 1st SS Panzer Division, commanded by Joachim Peiper. December 16, 1944, began before dawn. More than 200,000 German troops launched Hitler's final great offensive. Surprise was complete. American forces were thinly spread across an 80-mile front. 4 inexperienced U.S. divisions faced 30 German divisions and nearly 1,000 tanks. The German artillery barrage shattered the frozen morning. Searchlights illuminated the snow-covered battlefield. Everything proceeded according to plan for the first hours. Einheit teams infiltrated immediately, driving captured jeeps in American uniforms. They slipped through the chaos of the American withdrawal. One team scouted an American town, then redirected an entire convoy of armor. 2 other teams successfully misdirected Allied convoys, adding to the confusion. They cut wires, removed road signs, and spread false rumors of deep penetrations. Then came December 17th, and reality crushed the operation. The 1st SS Panzer Division failed to reach its objectives. Fierce American resistance at Elsenborn Ridge denied the necessary roads. American defenders fought ferociously at St. Vith. delaying the timetable by almost a week. The rapid breakthrough Operation Greif required never materialized. Scorzeni realized his original aims were doomed that same day. He suggested his brigade be used conventionally. Panzer Brigade 150 was ordered to report south of Malmedy. But the commando teams were already behind the lines. They failed password challenges. Nervous American soldiers noticed British weapons or German boots. Their English collapsed under pressure. The capture near Ivy created the panic. During interrogation, Schmidt made a statement that electrified Allied intelligence. He claimed their mission was to infiltrate Schaeff and capture or kill General Dwight Eisenhower himself. We still do not know if he believed this or spread deliberate disinformation.
The actual mission was just the Meuse bridges. Security around Eisenhower increased dramatically within hours. The Supreme Commander was virtually imprisoned in his headquarters at Versailles. He was furious at the confinement, especially when it extended through Christmas. He later declared angrily he had to get out. The paranoia spread far beyond protecting Eisenhower. Checkpoints appeared everywhere, drastically slowing troops and supplies. MPs began interrogating every soldier, demanding proof of American identity. What is the capital of Illinois? Who won the World Series in 1940? Who is Mickey Mouse's girlfriend? What team plays at Wrigley Field? Who is married to Betty Grable? Where does the guard stand in a football formation? Who is Frank Sinatra? What is the name of the president's dog? The questions ranged from state geography to Hollywood gossip. The system was chaotic. Many genuine Americans could not answer. General Omar Bradley was detained for correctly naming Springfield as the capital because the MP insisted it was Chicago. Brigadier General Bruce Clark was held at gunpoint for misstating the Cubs League. A captain spent a week in detention for wearing German souvenir boots.
British reconnaissance officer David Nunn was asked about the 1940 World Series and replied he hadn't the faintest idea. Troop movements required days instead of hours. Supplies idled. Units rushing to reinforce were delayed by repeated interrogations. Between December 16 and 31st, 23 members of Operation Greif were captured, 16 in December 1944. Team leader Gerd Scholz was captured later and tried in May 1945. The legal situation was clear under international law. The Hague Convention of 1907 forbade improper use of enemy uniforms. The first trial began at Henri Chapelle on December 21st. Paris, Billing, and Schmidt were convicted of violating the laws of war. They were sentenced to death by firing squad. On December 23, 1944, 2 days before Christmas, the sentences were carried out. American military police led them to the execution site. Captain J. Iser pinned white paper targets over their hearts. The prisoners were blindfolded. Billing shouted, "Long live our Führer, Adolf Hitler." The rifles fired instantly, their bodies were buried and eventually interred at the German military cemetery at Lommel, Belgium. 13 additional participants, Wilhelm Wiesenfeld, Manfred Brony, Hans Reich, Arno Kroer, Günther Scholz, Erhard Miegel, Horst Gericke, Norbert Pollock, Ralph Benjamin Meyer, Hans Witzuk, Otto Stanneyer, Alfred Franz, and Anton Moruk were tried and executed before December 31st. Each execution followed a military trial. Team leader Gerd Scholz was executed by the United States Ninth Army near Branch on June 14, 1945. 17 Operation Greif participants were executed for wearing enemy uniforms. Their tactical accomplishments were minimal. No bridges were captured. But the psychological impact exceeded every tactical result. The delay slowed the American response to the German penetration. Units needed days to reach threatened sectors. General McAuliffe, surrounded at Bastogne, gave his legendary typed response to the surrender ultimatum. Nuts. The Battle of the Bulge, involving over 1 million men, ended January 25, 1945. American casualties exceeded 80,000, a colossal cost. For Hitler, the gamble was lost. Scorzeni was wounded near Lineville, surrendered in May 1945, and spent 2 years awaiting trial. At the Dachau trials in 1947, Scorzeni faced charges of improper use of uniforms. His defense rested on that crucial distinction. His men were to remove the uniforms before engaging combat. A surprise witness, F. Yo Thomas, a former British SOE agent, testified Allied forces used identical tactics. The tribunal acquitted Scorzeni and his 9 officers. The legal precedent was set. Using enemy uniforms for deception was legitimate, provided combatants removed them before fighting. This verdict was controversial. 17 of Scorzeni's men were executed for the same actions for which he was acquitted. Scorzeni escaped internment in 1948, perhaps with tacit American assistance. He died in Madrid in 1975. The checkpoint interrogations became American military folklore. The questions about baseball and Hollywood defined how cultural identity became a security tool. The system worked because it tested genuine absorbed cultural knowledge. Being American involved shared references, not just speaking English. Manfred Purris, 23, Gunther Billing, 21, and Wilhelm Schmidt, 24, rest today at Lommel, Belgium. Their choices led them to that frozen morning, to the firing posts. Operation Greif proved special operations cannot substitute for conventional military failure. Piper's panzers never broke through. The bridges were never captured. Yet the operation created panic that hampered Allied operations during the critical opening phase. Prime Minister Winston Churchill declared this undoubtedly the greatest American battle of the war in January 1945. The checkpoint guards, asking about trivia, were solving an immediate crisis. They tested cultural fluency, the knowledge absorbed naturally over years. This is why the Germans failed. The human cost extended to the 17 men executed. Their deaths clarify the application of international law regarding uniforms. The story reminds us that warfare includes psychological burdens and cultural factors. The erosion of certainty marked a new dimension in modern security.